welcome everybody. On behalf of DoveLewis and as the director of the Pet Loss Support Program, I want to welcome all of you here to this unique and special service that honors the human and animal bond and the beautiful memories of our wonderful companions who are no longer with us. For some, this may be the first time you are joining us at the Service of Remembrance, and for others, this may be a day that you have joined us for many years. This year, we're gathering on Rainbow Bridge Remembrance Day, a day that was founded to remember our companions that have passed and to share memories of the wonderful lives that they lived. We come together to reflect, to honor, and to connect with the extraordinary love that you and your companions shared, and the everlasting bond that keeps you connected despite the absence of their physical presence. For many of us, the love that we share with our animal companions is simply natural. In it, we find such ease and fulfillment and joy, and it is also indescribably hard and sad when we have to say goodbye. It is my sincere hope that as we are together today and during this time, that you may find connection, comfort, healing, and hope. Our companions become intimately woven into our lives and hearts in so many ways. And because we love our companions deeply, it's natural, normal, and necessary that we grieve them. We miss them and we long for them. We yearn deeply. Please know that here today, your feelings are acknowledged, understood, and respected. While each loss is unique, you are not alone in your grief. If you have met me through our pet loss support groups, you may have heard me reflect that grief and loss can leave us feeling like our world has stopped, yet somehow the world around us continues to move. In this space today, we deliberately pause. We take this space to reflect, and we remember and honor our loved ones, and we do this in the community of each other. Those who know what it is to have your heart grow and be filled by this precious, unique, and beautiful relationship with a beloved companion. I want to extend my deep gratitude to all of you for being here today and to acknowledge the great effort that you have made to be a part of this space. I thank you all for caring and loving your companions as they deserved. I truly welcome you to join in this space as you are, with tears as you think about how much you miss your loved one, with a gentle smile as you reflect on your fond memories, with anger, with gratitude, with none of these things or all of them, and everything in between. I sincerely believe that there will be days, many of them, where the gift of your dear companion's love will help you carry the pain of their loss. They are forever a part of us. Our beloved companions shape who we are. They teach us and inspire us. They help us become who we are today, and even in death, I believe their love continues to help us grow. Be kind and gentle to yourself as your memories draw you into both the depths of love and the depths of grief, this inextricably intertwined presence in our lives, where the absence of our loved one takes on its own presence, and we see and feel just how deep our love goes. In a recent pet loss support group, someone shared the first line of a poem that encapsulates that presence of absence and the depth of love so well. And so I'll read that poem today, because sometimes the words of others can give voice to our own experiences and offer us a different perspective or lens. And sometimes we can find connection to each other in this way. And so this is Adrift by Mark Nepo. Everything is beautiful, and I am so sad. This is how the heart makes a duet of wonder and grief. The light spraying through the lace of the fern is as delicate as the fibers of memory forming their web around the knot in my throat. The breeze makes the birds move from branch to branch, as this ache makes me look for those I've lost, in the next room, in the next song, in the laugh of the next stranger. In the very center, under it all, what we have that no one can take away, and all that we've lost face each other. It is there that I'm adrift, feeling punctured by a holiness that exists inside everything. I am so sad, and everything is beautiful. And joining us today to share about a beautiful, enduring bond to a beloved companion is Deanna. I believe that Deanna's story of everlasting love and her experiences with grief and sorrow will deeply resonate for all of us here today. As I have, I hope you find inspiration, comfort, and connection as Deanna shares about her beautiful and enduring connection with her sweet Fozzie.
Hi, everyone. I just want to honor why we're all here today. And if we could just take a nice breath together. And just be here. So I'm Deanna, and I'm here to tell you about my best friend, Fozzie. So about 20 years ago, what I call my biological dog clock was ticking hard. I had 2 cats, but I wanted a dog something fierce. So in 2004, my partner and I bought a condo in Santa Rosa, California, where we were living. And much of my motivation for doing so had to do with the fact that it was so hard to find a rental that allowed dogs. So about a year into the condo, I couldn't stand it any longer, even though my partner John wasn't quite as ready, but I went to the county shelter. There were a few small dogs there, and I filled out applications for each one, except for the little bitey Chihuahua. I passed on that little guy. You see, I was so excited when I got the call that I could go meet one of the dogs. He'd been picked up as a stray, and all they knew about him was he was about 3 years old, and he was a waiver. When I went to meet him, he was in isolation with kennel cough. He smelled like pee, his fur was a mess, and he was totally adorable. I squatted down in his cell, and he put his paws on my leg, and I looked at him and I asked, "Are you my doggy?" And he said, "Yes, I am." So on October 28th, 2005, I brought home our little bundle of joy. The first photo in the slideshow, I'm not sure where we are, was the very first photo we took of him pre-beauty parlor. He's looking a little sad. So he was a bit timid at first, of course, and I was actually quite nervous. I still had one of my cats, and she was elderly, and I realized I had just brought home a dog whose history with cats was completely unknown. But any worries either of us had faded quickly, as he turned out to be a perfect gentleman with my Lily cat, and a total joy for John and I. He cleaned up nicely. He began to trust us, and he graduated very quickly from his crate to our bed, where he remained every night for 15 years. And about a year and a half after he joined our family, we moved up to Oregon, and luckily he loved riding in the car. I think Lily was less than thrilled with that little trip. Fozzie was an avid outdoorsman. He loved going for walkies and was happy to go in any weather: rain, wind, snow, hurricanes, tsunamis, blizzards. He was down for all of it. Well, less so John and I, but he got us out there because we could not disappoint him. He wanted to go. He was an enthusiastic co-pilot and loved going for rides, taking road trips and staying in hotels. He loved the beach, he loved the forest, he loved a sidewalk near the hotel in a small town. He loved a grocery store parking lot. He was really easy to please. As long as he had something to pee on, he was happy. And this dog loved food. He did really well in his training classes. He was very food motivated. And I always used to joke that I could train him to do our taxes as long as there was chicken involved. I never actually did that, but I probably could have. Each night before bed, he got 2 baby carrots, or carrots as we called them. And we used to do his voice as he chewed, that "I love you, Mama, when you give me carrots," as his little mouth went, and just cracked ourselves up. Oh, the squeaky toys. Daddy loves football, so Foz always had a squeaky football around. He loved pulling the stuffing out and spreading it evenly throughout the living room. No telling how many footballs were destroyed in our house in 15 years. Stuffed squirrels, lambs, Halloween eyeballs, pandas, even a squeaky Muppet Fozzie Bear. He loved and happily destroyed all of them. He was also a major cuddle bug. He loved cuddling up with us on the couch for some TV. And as I mentioned, he slept with us every night. And how a 20-pound dog can take up so much space on a king-size bed still baffles me. He learned very quickly about presents at Christmas time and loved to pull them out of the cloth bags made by John's family. He'd then proceed to run around like a madman, flinging his toys around, often triggering a full-blown case of the zoomies, which was a frequent occurrence up until the last few years. Luckily, we have a long hallway in his house, kind of a runway. We should have put lights down the middle of that thing. It was just perfect for those zoomy moments, just growling all the way, and the click-it-a on the hardwood floor of his nails. We never saw him upset with a person, but he fiercely protected us from all manner of bird and squirrel. We always felt safe. In our neighborhood was a cat. Her name was Olivia. She would come out to greet us when we walked by. He wanted desperately to chase her, but as with any cat, if they didn't run, he just kind of stood there and whined and looked confused. He never tried to hurt him or push the issue. It was just so confusing to him that I would stop to pet said cat, and he did not understand why she wouldn't run from his ferociousness, as he thought himself quite the terrifying beast. The second Halloween he was with us, I dressed him up as a chicken and took photos. This became an annual tradition. He was Bat Dog, a banana, a hot dog, a dragon, the Pope, a unicorn, a rocket, on and on. I didn't parade him around or anything, just 10 minutes, costume, photos, cookies. He was a consummate professional, and I think Tyra Banks would have been proud. He was a dog of many nicknames: Turkey Butt, Papa Joe, Booger, Monkey, Nugget, Rocket Dog, and Bearsy being just a few. And about that waving, whenever he wanted something, he waved at it. It was mostly at me for his meals, but when he saw a squirrel through the glass door and wanted to go chase, I love a waver. He made us laugh every day. When he was about 14, and then again the following year, Fozzie blew out one and then the other knee. He had surgery on each one 1 year apart, almost exactly to the day. And I had opted for the surgeries because he was not ready to be slowed down by poorly healed knees at that point. Even his surgeon couldn't believe he was 14. She said she would have guessed him about 7. I took really good care of that pup, and aside from his knees, I think he had pretty good genes. She did say he would likely get arthritis in his knees as he got older, and she was right about that. So recovery from knee surgery on a dog that's not ready to slow down is rough. Some of you might know about this. I'm only glad he was small so I could lift him. I'm not sure how folks with big dogs get through that process. But he made it through with flying colors both times and was able to remain an active guy. He did eventually start to slow down a bit, though. Our walks got slower and shorter. I had him on holistic supplements and injectable joint medication and took him for chiropractic adjustments. He went to the chiropractor more than I did. And I cooked chicken and rice and veggies for him to supplement a high-quality kibble because his tummy just couldn't tolerate a completely raw food diet. Eventually, I had a ramp built for our deck to make it easier for him to get to the yard, and I also got one of those little ramps for the couch. By that time, different work schedules and sleep patterns had John and I opting for separate bedrooms, and Foz slept with me. I got rid of the bed frame, got one of those bed-in-a-box things so it's down low on the floor, and eventually even made little steps out of folded blankets for him. So many little adjustments over the years, including some of those stick-on carpet squares for the non-carpeted parts of the house just to help him keep his grip. By the way, those things do not come up cleanly no matter what the ad says. You will be scrubbing that off for many months after. His hearing started to go, but honestly, having a few years of a calm dog on July 4th was a blessing for all of us. His vision also started to fade a bit, and sometime later in 2019, I figured out that he had dementia, quite possibly brought on by a series of seizures he had earlier in the year, completely out of the blue. So between the arthritis, the hearing and vision loss, and the dementia, I had to lift him up and down any stairs and over any curbs, no matter how small. He wasn't super graceful in his active years with all of his senses about him, and it got worse with age. Our walks became what I called wobbles, and often just a circle in the street in front of our house. He would sometimes forget how to eat, and feeding him by hand and having to experiment with different foods and baby food and that sort of thing became a regular occurrence. I stopped any kind of traveling or long days out, as I was really the only one who knew all of his details and quirks. He tended to get anxious in the late afternoon, a little sundowning, so I always tried to be there for that to try to bring him comfort. In March of 2020, I think he had a small stroke, and I was afraid he was gearing up to leave us. But the pandemic had just started, and I asked him to stay a while longer because I just couldn't take losing him right then. And he did. He recovered from the stroke or whatever it was, and he stayed. But by the end of the year, I realized it was no longer fair to ask that of him. I knew he would have stayed and stayed for us, but inside, I knew I couldn't let him do that. So on December 23rd of 2020, he got anything he wanted to and was able to eat. We had our last walk in the woods, and that afternoon, Yvette came to the house and helped him transition. We kept him home for 3 days, surrounded by flowers, candles, and photos. We had already lost so much of him, just having a few more days with his fuzzy little body was so helpful for our brains to adjust to this new reality and to prepare for the loss of the rest of him. I had been caregiving intensely for a couple of years and was able to have a few more days of caring for him physically, albeit it was light duty. I had planned to have friends come for his home funeral, but due to the pandemic, it was just the 3 of us. So where to begin with the grief? As an end-of-life doula, I know a lot about death and grief. I've lost friends and family members, I've experienced grief, but I had not lost a member of my inner circle, the trifecta of my mom, my partner John, and Fozzie. And this grief was different. It was deeper than any I'd experienced before. And I know I'm not telling any of you anything new when I say the relationship we have with our animals is different than other relationships. The love is so unconditional, so complete. And I'd spent the last 7 years of his life working from home and had been with him practically 24/7 that whole time. And then there was just stillness. No schedule, no appointments. I not only felt this grief, but I also observed it and learned from it. And I learned how deeply entrenched our society's downplay of pet loss is when I heard a voice in my own head questioning the intensity and length of my grief with the words, "It's only a dog." Fozzie was my best friend. He was my baby. He was my heart. I did not believe on any conscious level that his loss was any less than any other because he was a dog, yet there was that voice. It was so surprising. So for any of you who've heard that voice in your head, just know your grief is real and it's valid, and it will be as intense as it needs to be for as long as it needs to be. I also learned on a personal level how unprepared we are to support each other in grief, perhaps especially when it's a pet. I was not totally unsupported, don't get me wrong, but I guess I had hoped for a little more. So to support myself, I collected pet grief books, most of which I never did get around to reading. I started a grief journal the day he died, and I talked to him there, as well as kept track of insights and signs from him. I let my pain out onto the page. I attended a few DoveLewis pet loss support groups, and I participated in Megan Devine's Writing Your Grief course. Another aspect of this process was that there was a great weight lifted. The caregiving those last couple of years had been intense. The constant worry of what would happen next or how bad things might get, and always wondering if I'd be able to handle it and know what to do, was exhausting. I was truly happy that he was free to run and play again somewhere over that rainbow bridge, and grateful to have that weight removed from my shoulders. It took me a few months to realize that he was now truly safe, that I had done my job as mama for 15 years, took care of him as best I could, and that I could now rest in the knowledge that he was absolutely safe and well. I still think of him all the time. After he died, I started noticing the numbers, time especially, 11:11, 2:22, 4:44, more than I'd ever noticed them before. And the Muppet Fozzie Bear would show up in random threads on Facebook, paw prints in the clouds and in bubbles on the beach, weird little things. I always say hi to him when something like that presents itself and believe he's checking in on me. I kept a fairly massive altar to him in the living room for over a year. Got a little out of hand, as well as a small altar in my room. The large living room altar is now just fresh flowers and a photo where his bed used to be. There have been flowers in that spot continuously since December 23rd, 2020. I still have the small altar in my room and created another larger one that honors him as well as my childhood dog and my cats. His jackets and football are still on my side of our bed, on his side of our bed. I pet his little picture every night when I go to bed, which is, by the way, it's never been the same going to bed. It often takes me an hour or two just to go to bed. Since our bedtime ritual went away, going to bed just hasn't been the same. And early on, it was hard to even be in my room. A friend made me a pendant and a ring that contained some of Faz's ashes, bits of fur, bits of his collar, and various small gemstones. The ring sparkles in the sun and glows in the dark. I'm working on a plan for a memorial tattoo. For sure his paw print, possibly more. One day I'll get the 1 billion photos I have of him somewhat organized and have a giant book printed. I've heard from him a few times through mediums and energy workers. He has nothing but good things to report. He is happy and well. And whether or not your belief system includes this sort of thing, man, it's good to hear. I think we need to choose our own belief system around what happens when we and loved ones die, because we don't really know until we go. So in the meantime, why not let it be something that comforts us? So I choose to believe he's hanging out with my friends and family on the other side, that he still hangs out with me, and that I will see him again one day. Frequently, I'm asked if we're going to get another dog. The best I can do right now is probably. There was a time where I would have said, absolutely. But honestly, this has been harder than I could have imagined. And I think I have a degree of PTSD from that intense caregiving and worrying and anxiety there was a lot during his decline, probably compounded by the added global stress of the past couple of years. And I still don't have the energy to start again, but someday. Because at the same time, not having a dog is totally stupid. I've had some sort of furry friend for all but a few years of my life, and this is just dumb. But I can't, not just yet. But I know Faz is still with me, though it's not as fun without his little fuzzy body. I use what I've learned from his death and my grief to support others as much as I can, both in my doula work and personally. I've shared my grieving process openly. I do not subscribe to our social conditioning that grief is something we do alone and privately for a couple of months and then are done. I fully believe that we all need better grief education and to know that whatever comes up for us in our grief is normal and okay, especially with our animal companions. I want folks to know that the only way out is through. We need to feel what we need to feel at the rate we need to feel it, and we need to be okay with getting support when we need that. Sharing stories and community is so important for healing and normalizing what we're going through. We need to be gentle with ourselves through this process. As my grief began to shift over time, I noticed that I felt guilty on the days that I felt a little better, as though I was letting go too quickly. I worried that if my grief lessened, my connection to him lessened. This is completely normal to feel. I remind myself that while I will always miss him and grieve him, I really want my connection with him and my memories to be focused on the love and the fun we shared. And this is a work in progress. I believe that grief doesn't get smaller, but that we grow around it. I learned so much about love and caring and connection from him in his life and in his death that I want to use that as fuel to serve others, and one day to use with a new doggo friend who I'm sure Faz will help send my way. So I'm going to leave you with a quote from Mary Oliver from her poem In Blackwater Woods. To live in this world, you must be able to do 3 things. To love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones knowing your own life depends on it, and when the time comes to let it go, to let it go. Thank you for hearing my story, and thanks to Deborah and Kenzie and the DoveLewis Pet Loss Support Group for inviting me here today. Wishing you all peace.